A billionaire stops his car to help a homeless boy, but what the boy asks for instead will leave you speechless. In the bustling streets of Manhattan, amidst the constant hum of luxury cars and hurried pedestrians, a billionaire named Victor Harrington was a figure of mystery and power. Owner of Harrington Industries, his name was synonymous with success, wealth, and an intimidating demeanor. Despite his immense fortune and sprawling penthouse overlooking Central Park, Victor's life was void of genuine connections. He was a man surrounded by luxury but haunted by a silence he could not escape. Silence, amplified by the loss of his parents in a tragic accident years ago. Meanwhile, in a dilapidated shelter on the city's outskirts, 12-year-old Liam struggled to survive. With his tattered backpack and a hopeful spirit, he roamed the city looking for odd jobs to buy food. Liam, despite his hardships, was known for his infectious smile and unwavering optimism. He believed in a brighter tomorrow, even though today was filled with challenge. Their worlds, separated by a gulf of wealth and circumstance, seemed destined never to collide. But one cold evening, as the rain poured relentlessly, a chance encounter on a deserted street corner would set in motion a series of events that neither Victor nor Liam could have ever foreseen. Victor's evening began like any other, with his sleek black Rolls-Royce gliding through the city. The rain blurred the skyline, casting shadows on the window panes as he stared outside, lost in. He instructed his chauffeur to drive to a high-profile charity gala, one of many events he attended more for appearances than for genuine engagement. As the car stopped at a red light, Victor's eyes were drawn to a small figure huddled under a lamppost. The boy clutched an old coat around himself, his small frame trembling in the cold. "Pull over," Victor commanded, his voice cutting through the quiet of the car. The chauffeur hesitated, glancing at Victor in the rearview mirror, but complied without a. Stepping out into the rain, Victor approached the boy. Liam looked up, startled but not afraid. His large, hopeful eyes met Victor's cold, calculating gaze. "Are you all right?" Victor asked, his tone unexpectedly. Liam hesitated before replying, "I am fine, sir. Just waiting for the rain to stop." Victor stood there, something about Liam's resilience, stirring a memory long buried. "Come with me," he said, offering his hand. For Liam, this simple act of kindness was the beginning of a journey that would redefine both their lives. As the car pulled away from the rainy street, Liam sat nervously on the edge of the plush leather seat, his fingers tightly clutching his worn-out back. He couldn't help but marvel at the luxury surrounding him, the glossy wood paneling, the soft hum of the engine, and the faint scent of leather and Victor sat across from him, studying Liam with quiet curiosity. "What were you doing out there alone?" Victor finally asked, breaking the silence. Liam hesitated, his voice trembling slightly as he answered. "I was hoping to sell a few sketches I drew, sir. People usually don't stop, but I try anyway." He opened his backpack and carefully pulled out a stack of wrinkled paper. Victor took one, inspecting the intricate pencil strokes of a city skyline. "You drew this?" Victor asked, raising an eye. Liam nodded, a flicker of pride breaking through his nervous. Victor stared at the sketch longer than he intended. It was raw, unpolished, but full of For the first time in years, something in Victor stirred a faint, almost forgotten feeling he couldn't quite place. "You've got talent," he said, handing the sketch. Liam's face lit up, a small victory in a world that seldom showed him kindness. When they arrived at Victor's penthouse, Liam was overwhelmed by its grandeur. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and the lavish decor was unlike anything he had ever seen. "You can stay here tonight," Victor said, "but tomorrow, I'll take you somewhere you can get proper help." Liam's eyes widened in awe as he explored the living room, running his fingers over the smooth surface of a marble. But beneath his wonder, a sense of unease lingered. "Thank you, sir," Liam said, his voice soft yet sincere. "I'll make sure to repay you some." Victor waved off the boy's words, heading to his home office. There, he found himself unable to focus. His mind kept wandering back to the boy and the sketch. Something about Liam's presence unsettled him. Perhaps it was the quiet determination in the child's voice, or the way he clung to his hope despite his circumstance. As the night wore on, Victor replayed the moment he first saw Liam under the lamppost. It was as though the boy's resilience reflected a part of him he had long buried, a part that yearned for meaning beyond wealth. And the morning sunlight streamed through the penthouse windows, casting a warm glow on the city below. Liam woke up to the scent of fresh coffee and the distant hum of activity. For a moment, He forgot where he was, the soft bed and thick blankets unfamiliar, compared to the cold, hard pavement he was used to. As he sat up, Victor entered the room, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit. "Breakfast is ready," he said, his tone as neutral as ever. In the dining area, Liam was met with a spread of food that seemed almost excessive to him: fluffy pancakes, fresh fruit, and steaming eggs. "You didn't have to do all this," Liam mumbled, hesitating before taking a seat. Victor waved a hand dismissively. "Eat. You'll need your strength." As Liam ate, his nervousness gave way to curiosity. "Why are you helping me, sir?" he asked between bites. Victor looked at him, his piercing gaze softening for a brief moment. "Let's just say, you remind me of someone I used to know," he replied vaguely, his voice trailing off. After breakfast, Victor handed Liam a new set of clothes. "Get dressed. I have some meetings, but afterward I'll show you around the city." Liam nodded, gratitude shining in his eyes. Later that afternoon, as Victor wrapped up his business calls, he couldn't shake the thought of Liam. The boy's sketches had been on his mind all morning, their raw creativity stirring something within him. On a whim, he decided to take Liam to a local art gallery. "You might find this interesting," Victor said as they walked through the grand entrance. Inside, Liam was captivated by the vibrant paintings and intricate sculptures. His eyes darted from one piece to another, absorbing every detail. "These are amazing," he whispered, almost to himself. Victor observed the boy's fascination, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. For the first time in years, he felt a genuine sense of fulfillment, not from a business deal or a bank statement, but from watching someone else's joy. Their tour of the gallery ended at an exhibition of works by a celebrated street artist. Liam stopped in front of a massive mural depicting a young boy staring up at the stars. "That's how I feel sometimes," he said quietly. "Like I am just waiting for something bigger to happen." Victor paused, his heart unexpectedly heavy. "Sometimes you don't have to wait," he said, placing a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Sometimes you have to create your own path." As they left the gallery, the two walked through the bustling streets of Manhattan. Liam's energy seemed to grow with each step, his curiosity leading him to ask questions about the towering buildings and the history of the city. Victor answered patiently, surprising even himself with how much he enjoyed the boy's company. Their stroll took them to a small park tucked away between skyscrapers. Children played on the swings while parents watched from nearby benches. Liam's gaze lingered on the happy families, a longing expression crossing his face. Victor noticed and asked, "Do you have anyone waiting for you? Family?" Liam hesitated, his smile faltering. "Not really," he admitted. "My mom passed away when I was little, and my dad, he's not around anymore. It's just me now." Victor felt a pang of empathy. He, too, had grown up without parents, relying on distant relatives and sheer determination to build his empire. "That's a tough hand to be dealt," Victor said softly. "But you've got grit, kid. That'll take you far." They sat on a bench, watching the world go by. Liam pulled out his sketches, showing Victor more of his work. The drawings were filled with vivid scenes of the city, reimagined with fantastical elements: a taxi transformed into a dragon, skyscrapers with wings. Victor was impressed. "These are incredible," he said, flipping through the pages. "You see the world differently." Liam shrugged, his cheeks reddening. "I just draw what I imagine. It helps me forget about everything else." Victor leaned back, lost in thought. "You've got talent, Liam. Real talent. But talent needs opportunity to thrive. What do you want to do with this?" Liam's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I want to be an artist someday, have my work in galleries like the one we went to. But I don't know if that's possible for someone like me." Victor frowned, the boy's words cutting deeper than he expected. "Anything's possible if you work hard and believe in yourself," he said firmly. "You've got the vision. Now, you just need the chance." Unbeknownst to Liam, Victor began forming a plan. He saw something in the boy's raw potential mixed with unyielding determination. It reminded him of himself at that age, a young dreamer with nothing but ambition and a desire to escape his circumstances. As they headed back to the penthouse, Victor stopped at an art supply store. "Pick whatever you need," he told Liam, handing him a credit card. Liam stared at him, stunned. "Are you serious?" he asked. Victor nodded. "Consider it an investment. Show me what you can do." That night, as Liam sat at the dining table sketching with his new supplies, Victor watched from a distance. For the first time in years, his home felt alive. As the days passed, Liam's presence began to transform Victor's life in ways he hadn't anticipated. The penthouse, once a symbol of solitude and material success, now felt like a place of renewal. Liam's sketches, scattered across the dining table and walls, brought vibrancy to the otherwise muted luxury. Victor observed from a distance, fascinated by how the boy's creativity seemed to flourish when given even the smallest opportunity. Liam spent hours immersed in his art, pouring his emotions into every stroke. He drew the towering skyline of the city as if it were alive, adding fantastical creatures peering out from the windows and street lamps glowing like stars. These images, though whimsical, reflected a profound depth, a child's way of imagining a better world, one where he belonged. Victor, who had long buried his own dreams under the weight of corporate responsibilities, found himself captivated by Liam's resilience. The boy's quiet determination reminded him of his younger self, a time when ambition was fueled not by greed, but by the hope of proving his worth. It stirred something long dormant within Victor, prompting him to reflect on the choices that had led him to his current life of isolation. One evening, as Liam's pencil scratched across a new sheet, Victor silently retrieved an old sketchbook from his office. It was a relic from his youth, filled with half-finished drawings and ideas he had abandoned when the demands of building his empire took over. As he flipped through the pages, memories of a time when he, too, dreamed of creating something meaningful resurfaced. The contrast between his forgotten passion and Liam's unyielding pursuit of art was stark, yet strangely inspiring. Victor began to make subtle changes in his routine, carving out moments to mentor Liam. He took the boy to places that had once inspired him, quiet corners of the city, hidden gardens, and libraries filled with art books. These outings were a revelation for both of them. Liam's excitement was infectious, his wide-eyed wonder at each discovery reigniting Victor's own curiosity. At a small, tucked-away gallery in Brooklyn, Victor introduced Liam to the works of emerging artists. The vibrant canvases displayed struggles and triumphs, each piece a testament to the artist's journeys. Liam stood in awe, absorbing the stories behind the art, his mind racing with possibilities for his own creations. Victor, standing beside him, felt a rare sense of pride, not for an acquisition or a business deal, but for fostering something genuine in another person. As Liam continued to grow more comfortable, he began to share more of his story. His struggles were evident in his sketches, each line revealing a life shaped by hardship and resilience. Yet there was an unwavering sense of hope that shone through. Victor recognized this as the boy's greatest strength, a quality he had once possessed but had let fade in the pursuit of wealth. Through their shared moments, Victor found himself reconsidering the life he had built. His towering success seemed hollow when contrasted with the simplicity of watching Liam find joy in a blank canvas. The boy's presence brought perspective, challenging Victor to confront the loneliness he had ignored for so long. In the quiet moments of reflection, Victor began to see the outlines of a new purpose forming. He realized that his wealth and resources could be tools for more than personal gain. They could be a catalyst for change in the lives of those who needed it most. And at the center of this newfound clarity was Liam, a boy who had asked for nothing but had given so much in return. Victor's decision to help Liam was no longer just about providing shelter or supplies. It was about nurturing the boy's potential and creating opportunities for him to thrive. Liam, in turn, continued to flourish, his sketches becoming more intricate and confident. The transformation was undeniable, and Victor knew it was only the beginning of something far greater than he had ever imagined. Over the following weeks, Liam and Victor settled into an unspoken rhythm. Liam spent his days sketching, exploring the penthouse, and occasionally venturing out with Victor to discover more of the city's hidden gems. Victor, in turn, began reshaping his life around the boy's presence, finding fulfillment in moments he once dismissed as distractions. One crisp afternoon, Victor surprised Liam with a visit to an art academy renowned for nurturing young talent. The towering building stood as a beacon of creativity, its walls adorned with murals painted by students over the years. Inside, Victor introduced Liam to one of the academy's directors, a sharp-eyed woman named Clara Reynolds. Clara had a knack for spotting raw potential, and Liam's sketches immediately captured her attention. She studied his work, her gaze softening as she turned each page. "This boy sees the world in a way most people never will," she remarked, her voice thoughtful. Victor, standing silently nearby, felt an unfamiliar surge of pride. Clara offered Liam a spot in their mentorship program, a rare opportunity to work alongside some of the city's most promising young artists. That evening, back at the penthouse, Liam sat quietly, his sketchbook untouched for the first time in days. Victor noticed his unease and sat down across from him. "What's on your mind?" Victor asked, his tone softer than usual. Liam hesitated, his small hands gripping the edges of the table. "What if I am not good enough?" he finally admitted. Victor leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Liam, talent alone doesn't make an artist. It's your courage to try, to learn, and to grow that will set you apart. You've already taken the first step. The rest will come with time and effort." Liam nodded slowly, Victor's words sinking in. With renewed determination, he picked up his pencil and began to sketch. Each line he drew felt like a step toward proving to himself that he belonged, not just in the program but in a world that often felt too big and too daunting. As the days turned into weeks, Liam flourished under the mentorship of the academy. He spent hours honing his skills, experimenting with techniques, and absorbing everything he could from his mentors and peers. Victor, though often busy with his corporate obligations, made it a point to attend Liam's presentations and exhibitions. Watching Liam's confidence grow was a reward greater than any financial success he had ever achieved. The turning point came during a citywide art competition. Liam submitted a piece titled, "The Other Side of the City," a sprawling mural that depicted the harsh realities of urban life, juxtaposed with scenes of hope and resilience. The judges were captivated by the depth of emotion in his work, awarding him first place and a scholarship to continue his studies at the academy. When Liam stood on the stage to receive his award, his gaze briefly met Victor's in the audience. For a moment, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the silent understanding between the two, a bond forged through trust, compassion, and the shared belief that second chances could change lives. Victor's heart swelled with pride as he watched Liam accept the applause. This was more than a victory for the boy. It was a testament to what could happen when someone dared to believe in another person. Liam's journey was far from over, but this milestone marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just for him but for Victor as well. As they returned home that evening, the weight of their shared journey hung in the air, unspoken but deeply felt. The rising action of their story had set the stage for something far greater, paving the way for revelations and transformations yet to come. The night of the gala was one of New York's most celebrated events, where the city's elite gathered to showcase their influence and philanthropy. For Victor, it was another opportunity to present Harrington Industries' charitable ventures, a carefully curated public image that masked years of indifference. But this year was different. This time, he was attending with Liam, a boy whose story was far removed from the glitz and glamour of the event. Liam was nervous as they stepped into the grand hall, his small frame swallowed by the tuxedo Victor had tailored for him. The towering chandeliers, soft hum of conversation, and clinking of champagne glasses created a world so alien to him that it felt surreal. Victor noticed the boy's hesitation and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Just be yourself," he said simply. As the evening unfolded, Liam's sketches were displayed in a corner exhibit, drawing curious glances and hushed whispers from the guests. The centerpiece was his award-winning piece, "The Other Side of the City," which stood out starkly against the polished ambiance of the gala. Its raw portrayal of urban struggles and glimpses of hope captivated the audience. Among those drawn to the exhibit was Eleanor Montgomery, a renowned art critic and philanthropist. She approached Liam, her keen eyes scanning the mural with fascination. She asked, her voice a mixture of surprise and admiration. Liam nodded, his usual shyness giving way to a quiet confidence. Eleanor smiled warmly. "You've captured something extraordinary here, young man, the kind of perspective that reminds us why art matters." Victor watched from a distance as Eleanor introduced Liam to other influential figures in the art world. Pride swelled within him, but it was tempered by a growing realization this moment, as significant as it was for Liam, also marked a shift in Victor's own journey. The gala progressed, but Victor's thoughts began to drift. He stepped outside to the balcony, the cool night air a welcome contrast to the stifling opulence inside. As he gazed at the city lights, memories of his own rise to success surfaced. The sacrifices he had made, the relationships he had neglected, all for a version of fulfillment that now felt hollow. Liam's journey had rekindled a long-buried desire to connect, to create, and to give back. Just as Victor began to lose himself in thought, he heard hurried footsteps behind him. Liam appeared, clutching a small envelope. "Victor, someone left this for you," the boy said, handing it over. Victor opened the envelope to find a handwritten letter. The message was brief but striking. "Mr. Harrington, your generosity inspires us, but true philanthropy lies in understanding the lives you touch. If you wish to make a lasting impact, you must go beyond these walls. Come see the real city." The letter was unsigned, but the words struck a chord. Victor's gaze shifted back to the glowing skyline, each light a symbol of countless lives beyond his reach. He folded the note carefully, tucking it into his jacket. Later that night, as they returned to the penthouse, Victor was unusually quiet. Liam, sensing the change, didn't press him. Instead, he quietly retreated to his room, leaving Victor to grapple with the weight of the letter's challenge. Victor sat alone in his study, staring at the note. The words felt like a call to action, urging him to go beyond his carefully curated image and truly immerse himself in the lives of those he sought to help. It was a daunting prospect, but one that felt increasingly necessary. The next morning, Victor made a decision that would forever change the course of his life. Instead of retreating into his office or attending another corporate meeting, he told his staff to clear his schedule. With Liam by his side, he ventured into parts of the city he had long ignored, places where his wealth and status meant little and humanity's struggles were laid bare. Their first stop was a community center tucked away in a struggling neighborhood. The walls were faded, and the roof leaked during rainstorms, but it was alive with activity. Children laughed as they played in the yard, while volunteers handed out meals to families in need. Liam's eyes lit up as he took in the scene, the vibrancy of the people a stark contrast to the wealthier parts of the city. A woman named Rosa, who managed the center, greeted Victor with cautious curiosity. She recognized him from the news but seemed skeptical of his presence. "What brings a man like you here?" she asked, her tone polite but firm. Victor, uncharacteristically humble, replied, "I want to understand. Not from behind a desk or at a gala, but from here where it matters." Rosa studied him for a moment before nodding. "If you are serious, roll up your sleeves. We could use the help." The hours that followed were a revelation for Victor. He served meals, listened to stories, and even helped patch a broken window. Each task, no matter how small, felt profoundly fulfilling. Liam, meanwhile, became an instant favorite among the children, sketching their portraits and making them laugh with his imaginative stories. As the day wore on, Victor began to see the world through Liam's eyes, a place filled with hardship, but also resilience, creativity. It was a perspective that had eluded him for years, buried beneath layers of privilege and isolation. Before they left, Rosa handed Victor inside were photos and letters from families who had benefited from the center's services. "This is what you are helping to protect. These faces, these lives there, the real measure of your impact." Victor left the center with a heavy heart, but a renewed sense of purpose. The experience had been humbling, and it was clear to him that his philanthropy needed to evolve. It wasn't just about writing checks. It was about being present, about understanding the stories behind the numbers. In the weeks that followed, Victor immersed himself in this newfound. He partnered with organizations like Rosa's, not just as a donor but as an active participant. He visited shelters, schools, and clinics, each stop reinforcing the interconnectedness of the struggles he sought to address. Through it all, Liam remained at his side, his curiosity and empathy serving as a guiding light. One day, Victor brought Liam to a meeting with his board of directors. The room was filled with polished executives, their conversations laced with corporate jargon. Victor's presence immediately commanded attention, but it was Liam's quiet demeanor that intrigued. "This," Victor began, gesturing to Liam, "is the reason we're changing our approach." The board members exchanged puzzled glances as Victor outlined his vision. Harrington Industries would launch a new initiative, investing in grassroots programs and directly engaging with underserved communities. It was a radical departure from the company's traditional philanthropy, but Victor was unwavering in his commitment. At first, the proposal was met with resistance. Some argued it was too risky, too idealistic. But Victor stood firm, his resolve strengthened by the experiences he had shared with. If we're not making a tangible difference in people's lives, then what's the point? He asked, his voice steady and filled with In time, the board relented, swayed by Victor's passion and the compelling data he presented. The initiative launched with a pilot program focused on providing art and education resources to children, and Liam, as its unofficial ambassador, became a symbol of its potential impact. The inaugural event was held at the same community center where their journey had been. The once dilapidated building had been transformed, its walls painted with murals created by local artists, including Liam. Children and families gathered to celebrate, their laughter filling. As Victor looked around, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. For the first time in years, his success wasn't measured in profits but in smiles, in stories of hope. Liam, standing beside him, turned and said, "You did this." Victor shook his head, a rare smile breaking through. "We did this," That night, as they returned to the penthouse, Victor reflected on how far Liam's journey from the streets to the art academy was remarkable. But it was the boy's impact on Victor's life that truly stood. Liam had reminded him of the power of connection, of the importance of purpose, and of the joy that came from lifting up. The transformation of Victor Harrington's life extended far beyond his personal fulfillment. The new initiative launched by Harrington Industries quickly gained traction, becoming a model for socially responsible corporate philanthropy. Its impact rippled through the community as more children gained access to art programs, education resources, and mentorship opportunities. Victor, once known as a reclusive tycoon, became a familiar face at these programs, actively engaging with the people his efforts were helping. For Liam, life had taken a dramatic turn. The young boy who once sketched on scraps of paper in the rain now had a dedicated studio at the academy, funded entirely by Victor's program. His work began to draw attention not just from his peers but also from local art collectors who saw in him the promise of a rising star. But even as their lives improved, both Victor and Liam remained deeply connected to their shared journey. They made regular visits to the community center, where Liam's murals adorned the walls. Rosa often joked that the two were inseparable, calling them the oddest yet most inspiring pair the city had ever seen. One day, during one of their visits, Rosa pulled Victor aside. "You've given this community something priceless," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "But more than that, you've shown them what's possible when someone cares enough to act." Victor nodded, the weight of her words settling on him. He had spent years building an empire, but it was the human connections, the tangible change that gave his life meaning. As the weeks turned into months, Liam's confidence grew. He began speaking at events, sharing his story to inspire others. "It wasn't just about the help I received," he said at one event. "It was about someone seeing me, believing in me, and giving me the chance to prove what I could do." Victor, watching from the sidelines, felt an immense sense of pride. Liam's words resonated deeply, echoing the lessons he himself had learned throughout their journey. The boy's growth was a testament to the power of compassion and opportunity, a reminder of how much could change when someone decided to care. Their bond, forged through shared challenges and triumphs, had become unbreakable. Victor no longer saw Liam as just a boy he had helped, but as a partner in the work they were doing. Together they began dreaming bigger, exploring ways to expand their efforts and reach even more communities. The falling action of their story was not just a resolution but a stepping stone to something greater. Both Victor and Liam understood that their work was far from finished. The journey ahead was filled with challenges, but it was also brimming with potential, a chance to create a legacy that would endure long after. One late afternoon, Victor and Liam stood on the rooftop of the community center, gazing out at the city skyline. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting the buildings in shades of gold, and it was a moment of quiet reflection, the kind that had become rare in Victor's fast-paced life before Liam entered it. "Do you ever think about what's?" Liam asked, breaking the silence. Victor looked at the boy who had come to mean so much to him. Liam was no longer the timid child he had picked up on that rainy street. He had grown into a confident, hopeful young artist, brimming with potential and ready to take on the world. "All the time," Victor replied, his voice steady. "But for once, what's next isn't about profits or expansions. It's about making sure kids like you have the chance to dream and to make those dreams real. Liam smiled, his gaze returning to the horizon. I want to help too, he said, like you helped me. Victor nodded, his heart swelling with pride. And you will. Together, we. That evening, as they left the center, they stopped to admire the mural that had become the centerpiece of the building. It depicted children playing beneath a sprawling tree, its branches reaching toward the sky. At the base of the tree were words Liam had chosen. Hope grows here. For Victor, those words were more than a sentiment, they were a declaration of the legacy they were building. The mural symbolized the journey they had shared and the promise of the impact they would continue to make. As they walked back to the penthouse, Victor felt an unfamiliar but welcome sense of his life, once dominated by loneliness and ambition, had found a new purpose. And for Liam, the boy who had once sought shelter from the rain, the future stretched out before him like a blank canvas waiting to be filled with color, creativity, and the falling action of their story was complete, setting the stage for a resolution that would bring closure, yet leave room for endless possibilities. Months after their journey began, Victor and Liam found themselves at a formal ceremony held at the Art Academy. The event marked the unveiling of a new wing dedicated to fostering creativity and underprivileged children, a dream that had taken shape through their combined efforts. The room was filled with supporters, artists, and families whose lives had been touched by the program. The ceremony was a culmination of everything they had worked for, but for Victor, it was also deeply personal. As he looked around the room, he saw not just the success of the initiative, but also the faces of those it had helped. Each child, each family, represented a story of resilience and hope, a testament to the power of compassion and opportunity. Liam was at the center of it all, his sketches prominently displayed in the new gallery. The boy who had once doubted his worth now stood as a symbol of possibility, his work inspiring others to believe in their own potential. Watching Liam interact with guests, Victor felt a surge of pride. During his speech, Victor spoke not about his company or his wealth, but about the lessons he had learned. For too long, I believed success was measured by what we accumulate, he said. But I've come to understand it's defined by the lives we touch and the legacies we leave behind. As the audience applauded, Liam joined him on stage, holding a small plaque. Together, they unveiled the inscription on the wall of the new wing. In honor of every dreamer who dares to believe, and every mentor who lights their way. The room erupted in applause, the moment cementing the profound bond between the man who had once been lost in wealth and the boy who had helped him rediscover purpose. In the days that followed, the impact of their work continued to grow. The program expanded to other cities, creating a network of centers that nurtured creativity and provided resources to those in need. Victor, once a solitary figure at the helm of a vast empire, became an advocate for change, his story inspiring others in positions of power to follow his lead. For Liam, life was a series of new beginnings. His talent flourished, and he began to receive commissions and invitations to showcase his work beyond the academy. Yet, he remained grounded, always attributing his success to the chance Victor had given him. At the penthouse, life took on a new rhythm. The once quiet halls now echoed with laughter, conversation, and the occasional sounds of pencils scratching across paper. Liam had transformed the space, filling it with his energy and creativity. One evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the city, Liam turned to Victor. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Victor smiled faintly, his gaze fixed on the skyline. "All the time," he admitted. "But I've learned that the best paths are often the ones we don't expect." They both knew their journey wasn't over, it was simply evolving, shaped by the lives they continued to touch. Years later, the seeds of Victor and Liam's efforts had grown into a flourishing legacy. The community centers and art programs they had established had expanded across the country, touching thousands of lives. What began as a chance encounter on a rainy street had evolved into a movement, a testament to the transformative power of compassion and opportunity. Liam, now an accomplished artist, continued to use his platform to advocate for underprivileged. His works were displayed in prestigious galleries, each piece telling a story of resilience, hope, and the enduring bonds that shaped his journey. Despite his success, Liam remained deeply connected to his roots, often visiting the centers to mentor young artists who reminded him of himself. Victor, too, had undergone a profound transformation. He had shifted from being a symbol of wealth to a symbol of meaningful impact. His philanthropic work became a model for others in the corporate world, inspiring a new wave of socially responsible leaders. But for Victor, the greatest reward was the relationship he had built with Liam, a bond that had redefined the course of both their lives. One quiet evening, as they sat together in the penthouse, Liam presented Victor with a painting he had been working on for months. It depicted a solitary figure standing in the rain, holding an umbrella over a young boy. The boy's face radiated hope, and in the background, the city glowed with light. And Victor studied the painting, his eyes misting with emotion. "It's perfect," he said, his voice thick with gratitude. "It's us," Liam replied simply. As they reflected on their journey, a sense of peace settled over. Their story was not just about second chances, but about what could be achieved when someone chose to see potential instead of limitations, to act with compassion instead of indifference. The chapter of their lives that began on that rainy night had come full circle, but the impact of their choices, the lives they had touched, and the legacy they had built would continue to ripple outward, creating waves of hope for generations to come. Victor looked at Liam, his heart full. "Sometimes it takes a leap of faith to change everything," he said quietly. "And sometimes it just takes one person willing to care." Proving that even the smallest act could spark a transformation far greater than anyone could imagine.